ASL Premier League Season 2, Group Stage, Round of 16.
Alright, well, you know what? He's in-game, so obviously we must not need to wait. Okay.
I kind of thought so, but
Well,
I wasn't totally sure.
yeah, neither was I.
Either way.
Alright, so, here on Merry-Go-Round, in the South Center section, we have trying to advance on to the round of 8. It is our red Terran player.
Claire.
And her opponent across the map in the top right-hand spawn in orange from Team Anna Kendrick, our Zerg player.
FatTire.
Any thoughts or predictions about this one?
Failed roach bust.
Failed roach bust?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually
Alright.
don't know. I haven't seen, no, I must have seen FatTire. I saw FatTire play versus Saber, and Saber won pretty comprehensively.
Yeah.
But then I saw Clare play versus Saber, and Clare felt like the better player all the way through, but then didn't win. So,
Right.
so what I make of that, in general, is that Clare should do a pretty handy job on all of this. But I'm not quite sure how or why it's going to play out. And the reason I went for the Roach Bust is because it's merry-go-round, and the reason why I went for Failed is because I think Clare is probably the better player.
Alright. Well, there is no... Okay, I was going to say no wall off from Claire, but she's going to do a 3 supply depot, which is very bustable.
It is.
So, without that Rax in there... okay, I'm curious to see how this goes.
Every game, Claire walls off next to the command center instead.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting. We got 2 Reapers on the way. We're going to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, we got our pool at about 75%, and the natural going down here for FatTire.
It's pretty standard to get that pool before hatch when you're playing as Zerg and get the faster speed as well. FatTire's getting quite a lot of gas. He should either have pulled out of gas now or is planning something. And in fact, against Saber, didn't we see him go for some aggressive timings?
Yes. And...
Usually involving banelings, actually, not roaches. So I'd like to revise my guess to banes.
that would make sense to me. I'm surprised again.
Ooh, miscontrol on that Reaper there.
Oh, and a Reaper falls pretty quickly there.
Yeah, sees the gas, though, which is pretty good. Claire did see the gas, but she shouldn't have gone through that middle line. Too greedy. I don't think she clicked it. Roaches. Ah.
My goodness, if you are right. Oh, you did say failed.
I did say failed, and, you know.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Chill out.
Uh-oh.
Well, you're back now. Hopefully it won't happen again.
Is that me?
Yeah, it was.
Ah! I don't know why. No. I mean, if you can hear me, that's a good sign.
Yeah, exactly. That was why it was so weird. It said you were lagging out, but we were just talking. So, Claire going for third command center behind this. So this is actually an absolutely optimal time to be going for a roach aggressive, an aggressive roach attack for FatTire. So she is playing right into his hands at this point in time, and it's looking at increasingly likely that my prediction might be wrong, but only in the failed part of things.
Yeah, and I'm really worried about this lag because if it said me, I'm worried that somehow this is me. I'm like, I don't know. Why would the dog is sleeping under my desk, but he's not eating the modem.
You don't know that. You can't trust these dogs. They love them some delicious router.
Oh man, the problem is, I'm hoping this lag stops. Is for FatTire, if he goes into this laggy, it's going to be a lot easier for Claire to micro
It's going to be
around.
harder for Claire to micro too.
Yeah, that's true. Especially with Hellions. Well, they're just not going to do squat to roaches. Now, how do you feel
Right.
about this push? I mean, we're talking about, okay, we got our first Marauder coming out.
I think this is looking really scary. What I suspect we'll see though is a big lift off of the command center. We'll just see. Don't put bunkers down. Oh, good. They're healing Hellion. We'll see a lift off of the command center, a retreat of the SCVs. Although very very late already, and I don't get it. But
Oh boy.
a retreat.
Hello.
What are you doing? What are you
Everybody
doing,
be
Claire?
back.
Get back inside. Oh no! Get that. Are you?
Oh, why did you not just
That was
run
the
forward?
closest. That was the closest thing to that not going up I've ever seen. But as it stands,
Oh!
Depot's down. The roaches are pushing away, doing some good damage to SCVs. But Claire has just dropped mules at the natural. Claire thinks this
Oh
is
my.
fine. Look at the mule wall. There are 2 marauders now in the mix, and the rest of the SCVs have come off the line, so they're providing some great buffering. And the
Oh
marauders
my
pretty
goodness.
good. If you borrow this Widow Mines and your SCVs die, I'm going to probably cry. No, it turns out to be okay. So
That would have been pretty sick if he blew up his own or shoot SCVs.
yeah. So actually, as the dust settles, we see 22 SCVs with 11 having been killed, and that might just about work itself out in Claire's favour in the most convoluted way possible, but not immediately.
I was gonna say, she's what, 13 workers behind even army.
Yeah, but she's gone for a 3cc opening, and the roach boss didn't kill her.
And here comes more of them.
Yeah, there's now 3 marauders. There's 4 widow mines, I think. 3 widow mines. Yeah, 4 widow mines. 3 marauders. This is all looking. This actually looks pretty good to me. For Claire to be holding. Look at half the roaches are dead already. One of the marauders goes down, but a bunch of them. And Claire, I would think taking those away rather than 2 might have been the better choice. But even so, all of those roaches going straight down. And at this point, if I was FatTire, I'd be making links. I'd be making a big stream of speed links. But
And
does
you
he even
got
have
12
speed? No speed.
Oh, yeah.
That's
And
what we
8
find
more
out.
roaches.
Yeah. 12
Now
links.
he's 16 worker lead now.
It is
And
a
he
60
macroed on the back of those attacks. Both times when he was attacking, he had a huge wave of drones go.
That's the way to do it. That's the way Hyun teaches us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But look at these Widow Mine placements. That's going to be a nightmare without an overseer.
It is, and it is worth noting that Lair has finished now. Very, very standard Lair timing, to be honest. And Spire and Bane Ness is following this up. So I don't think after this attack,
I don't see roach speed.
it's kind of weird, this game, because I think FatTire should be much more behind than he is. But instead, we've actually got a really strong looking Zerg moving into the mid game, having done some reasonable damage to a Terran. And because of this, Clare is vulnerable, and with no wall at the front except for this visible wall of Widow Mines perhaps, an attack could do some real damage.
Yeah, I'd like to see an observer. Okay, well, he backed up anyway. But if he hadn't, I was going to say I'd really like to see 1 or 2 overseers with this army. Otherwise,
Yeah.
this could be really, really scary. So, didn't happen though. And double Evo's going down. Let's see if 1-1 upgrades start immediately. He's floating enough money that he can go for a wave of whatever he really wants to go for. It's going to be 9 drones, a couple lings, and some upgrades. So he's splitting it up. And being on 3 bases and getting those 8 extra workers all the way up to 12 at the 3rd, just like that. Not bad.
It's all looking really nice. This is the strength of the Zerg, and the saturation is looking really prominent for FatTire, demonstrating the kind of strengths of the lava production compared to standard sequential. But this drop coming in from Claire now is going to attempt to do some work. It's not going to be one of those lair sniping drops that, as I say, I realise you don't cast with me for that tournament. But there's a player that I often cast called Puff, who lands in people's mains and snipes their lairs with marine drops. And it's really, yeah, it's like quite unconventional, but it works really well. And he's like rank 1 on the. He's like a rank 1 master player. He's very, very strong, and that's the kind of thing I was expecting to see out of Claire. But it's not quite on the same level, unfortunately. Not quite pulled off to that extent. And instead, just getting a few drones and a queen.
Now we do have a whole bunch of mutas on the way. 9 mutas in total, and starting upgrades, but not surprisingly, not for the roaches. It's going to be like a Ling Bang muta combo.
Yeah.
versus Bio Widowmine. Have you ever heard that one before?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's fantastic. It can work really well in both players' favor. It totally depends on engagement micro, and I think so far Claire's shown us some pretty good micro. So that could be the one. That could be the one that she is hoping for as she pushes out across the map with his first Bioforce. But the Banes will be ready to receive. It's worth noting. Oh, the Banes may not be ready to receive. It's worth noting that the creep spread is really weak out of FatTire. It's not very spread out at all, and in fact, currently FatTire is relying less on his early warning system of creep and more on his defensive Mutalisks that are defending by attacking the main mineral line of Clare.
5 workers so far. 6, 8, 9, 11. Oh, this is beautiful.
These are workers that Clare really can't afford to lose.
That was pretty good. Oh my. Oh, there is a turret over here. Not going to be... Well, I was going to say not going to be enough, but I guess it will.
Repair. It's nearly doing it, but not. Yeah, it's good. It's actually picking up quite a few Mutalisks, and really good Zerg players tend to not let any of their Mutalisks die. So to lose 3 or 4 to a single turret is a little bit sloppy out of FatTire. Got to be a bit more careful than that. What he has done though is buy himself time to get a really big Baneling ball back at home.
Yeah, but how many Overseers do you see?
I'll have a look. How many do I see? I don't see any, and that's the same number of Widow Mines that we're going to see FatTire killing because he doesn't have the detection.
Yeah. This is a great build, and it would annihilate this army. If he had 1 Overseer, which costs 100 total resources. Oh, I can't count how many times I've seen games lost to not having 1 Overseer. Oh, my. This is a Zerg player talking, the pain.
I remember... I've lost games to DTs because my ops have been sniped, so I get it. Even as a
no
Protoss,
spores either.
Yeah. This is such a good engagement. Claire needs to kite back, get them. Marauders absorbing so much of the damage here, but
but this is more than enough.
Oh yeah. Oh
Correct.
yeah. Too much time offered. Claire gave FatTire way too much time to prepare, and now the Muse are going to swing back in. They're the reason the time was bought. Claire should have gone with the first attack and kept a few at home. She should have forced FatTire to pull back rather than pulling back herself, and now is paying the price for letting a Zerg with good macro into having a good army as well.
They're going to run into each other right here too.
Yeah.
Hello.
Where's all that army, Claire? You need to get all that army down right here, right now, because there's Roach's Lings. Oh, that was a good Widow hit. That was a really strong Widow hit. A lot of medevacs here to support, not a lot of Marines, and the Widows, was they going off? I actually think the Bio might win out, because Bio is good, and this is 1-1 Bio against just +1 Zerg.
I still can't believe he has not built an Overseer. If he loses this game, I will literally blame it on Overseers.
I'm not sure the Widow Mines have been like that instrumental so far, but they've certainly been helpful. There are a couple of good hits. It's worth noting that 2-2 is nearly complete for Terran, and the +2 is only just starting for our Zerg. And traditionally, Zerg finishes 2-2 about the same time Terran starts it, maybe a little bit into it. So to have a Terran with an upgrade lead at this significance, it's going to get really compounded the second we see attacks, and Claire is attacking as we speak, moving across the map, getting ready to deal with all of this. The damage is going to be spectacular. There's so many Widow Mines.
Yeah, it's because she realized that he isn't building any detection at all. None.
Not even a tiny bit. You're absolutely right. This shuffle with the Bio is going to be so difficult to kill. 2-2 is just about to hit. Claire kind of hitting an anti-timing for herself, but it's not mattering because this Bio is just going, yeah, I'm going to fight you and you can't hurt me. And it can't. The damage absorption is massive, and every single thing FatTire does, he's gone from this position of great strength to just losing everything in a couple of misplaced engagements.
Yeah, and here come the Widow Mines again.
I don't know if anyone's ever said this before, but Terran Bio is pretty good.
It's good, but I don't think it would have done this good if there had been, could have, halted these Widow Mines.
Yeah, the Widows have done some decent stuff over the course of the game, and Claire has made it work. There's actually 2 Widow Mines sat towards the third base as well for some reason, just hanging out. But there's barely any forces left for FatTire. This bio is sat in the natural. Clare is doing the classic Terran thing of forward pushing with every single unit and just reinforcing, shoving across the map every single time, and in the end, chipping away at the resources of FatTire.
Yep. And there's the GG. And I got one word. Overseer. All right. So here we go. Game number 2. Up 1-0 in the bottom right-hand corner. It's going to be our blue Terran.
Claire.
And her opponent spawning in the bottom left in the orange trunks. From Team Anna Kendrick, it's our Zerg player.
FatTire.
All right. So what do you expect to see this game? You said roaches last time.
Do you remember last game and I said failed roach aggression? And then I was right, but sort of not really, but then kind of right. Technically the game...
Successful roach aggression and then a fail later.
That's...
So,
you can argue whatever you like, but definitely at this point we can argue something we can't agree on is that Claire's putting down 2 barracks in the middle of the map, right next to a Zelnaga tower as well, because
nice.
Claire, despite probably being a girl, has the balls and is going for that aggression. Yeah. And
by the way, it was announced that currently our channel is the #1 channel on Twitch.
That's amazing. Thank you all so much for watching us.
Yep.
throwing pizza around and being sleep deprived.
That's what happens when you have a tournament that everybody is all over the planet.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't swap it for the world. Like I could swap it for sleep and I'm not trading it, so
yeah.
Yeah, it makes me happy to be here, and it makes me happy that you guys are here too, and I hope you're enjoying the show. For now, we have to see whether this will be the final game of tonight, or whether FatTire is going to be able to hold off against the aggression of Claire, because it is very much on its way. So far,
she's sending both those SUVs split off into the upper corners to tell her immediately right now, which direction do I send these Marines? And she's going to say, oh, the only place I did not scout is the answer.
Mm-hmm. This could look a bit like a CC first, but FatTire is going to know in just a moment that it isn't. Going to know as soon as we get... Yeah, at this point, FatTire should be aware. But the attention isn't actually on the Overlord at this point. So those... There we go.
There goes the spine crawler.
At this point, he's kind of got to know. He's kind of got to know. And SCVs are coming off the line as well to help support. FatTire must... He must have seen that.
Oh, yeah, the Overlord is sitting right there. I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's just drifting over.
Assuming it was looking.
The bunker's coming down at the front, and it's not perhaps as close as one might want it to be, but there's a lot of Marines here already. Going to start chipping away at that spine crawler, doing pretty good start-up damage as we move into the kind of continuation of the cheese. Yeah, the spine crawler's going to get cancelled, I think. No, not quite. Kiting back to the bunker.
Oh my goodness!
Those SCVs, man. Those SCVs. They've just cleaned up. Not quite ready to fight spines. Gonna get that.
There goes one Overlord, and he's gonna get another one.
Oh, seriously, did he get 2 Overlords there? That's a fairly major supply block. There is an attempt. I mean, 10 Lings were in production during that period of time, and 2 Overlords now to follow it up. So FatTire isn't out of this yet because he squeezed out that round of production. But behind this, Claire's putting down the command center. I think she knows that the pressure is over and that she's done the damage she needed to by forcing 10 Lings at such a critical juncture in the game.
Claire is trying to bait.
Yeah.
The Lings out. It's not working.
It's
anymore.
not.
She's bailing out.
With good micro, it's more than possible to kind of just pull back the injured Marine when you start firing on the firing on the spine crawler, but against 2 spines, it's a bit of a risk, especially at the point where you have to start extending onto the creep. And I saw some amazing micro ones. I can't remember who it was, but it was like 2 or 3 bunkers, and basically he was going Marines out, fire as soon as the spine targeted them, pull them back into the bunker. Marines from the other one out, fire, back in. I think it was select, and it was just insane. He was basically tanking completely on the bunkers whilst jumping the Marines into range. It was spectacular. But
how you feel about the amount of Zerglings killed in that setup? I mean, do you think that was an efficient amount? 16.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Claire's done okay. Claire's really done okay. We do need to see the wall come down or a lift off, because you can't fly barracks back and hope to wall off the front at this point. What we need to see out of Clare is not this orbital command, but instead a lift and getting out of there. And Clare seems to have a fixation with killing the rocks at inopportune moments, because at this
game in a row that she did that.
Yeah, every single game is that's what happens. I think Claire's quite brave a lot of the time and tends to go, well, I'd be doing this anyway, so I'll just keep doing it anyway and hope that what I've got is enough to deal with you. And it works out a lot of the time. So, you know, the confidence pays off. It's good standing. But
without Ling speed here, there's not much more FatTire is going to be able to do.
No.
And ironically, so we basically had, would you call it a successful or a failed 2-Rax rush?
I'd say
Or
it wasn't.
break even.
It wasn't really either way. I don't think either player came out of it that ahead or behind. The damage done was probably ended up with FatTire pretty ahead, but not like too.
I think the deciding factor
Resoundingly.
in that situation is, do you snipe the hatchery or not? And
Often, I mean, the hatchery wasn't even touched, but
No.
it forced a lot of lings, and Claire didn't lose that much financially. Then the counter swing didn't do a lot either. So overall, it doesn't feel too bad to me. It just kind of put the game back a little bit, and it's a bit weird now. But
it delayed some time, but we're about in the same spot we would be.
ish,
as
yeah,
far as-
it's not too far off, certainly. It is worth noting that FatTire behind all of this is taking a 3rd base and is actually getting Lair and Roaches. So with the Roaches coming up, those could be used to put on some decent pressure, but they're not up against just a standard wall. They're up against a wall of barracks, and that is harder to bust through than the average.
Yes, it is. Now, it looks like Claire's assuming roaches, which in this case would not be a bad assumption, since roaches are being spammed at an obnoxious amount. And that's why we got Marauder production going here. We got 2, 3 more queued up, and that's going to help out a lot, especially when Stim finishes here. Yeah,
It's going to be a difficult push to hold if it's done right. But Claire's getting the bio count up to the extent that I actually don't think that she's filthy threatened. And if we look, the droning has been kind of lackluster for a little while for FatTire. I like this extra hatchery. I really want to see a macro hatch in the main, because in the last game, the reason why we saw the loss out of FatTire was the lack of lava in the late game. Massive mineral bank, not really any lava, and no overseers, as you said.
I was going to say,
yeah.
overseer.
But there's no macro hatch. There's just a 3rd base coming down at the 11-minute mark. It's very, very late, even with the cheese that had to be defended. So Claire's a bit kind of hit and miss overall, but has a 3rd command center. I don't really know where I'd place either one of them, but I think that Claire stands a chance of overtaking an opponent who should be ahead in macro.
Yeah, well, right now she's behind by 7, but as you said, you know.
But I mean, behind by 7 right now is fine, but that shouldn't be the case, because she's actually catching up rather than falling behind. It's pretty spectacular to consider that just that extra 3rd command center can power through, and just consistent SCV production rather than kind of the stop and start lava stuff.
Yeah, if she can get this 3rd base established, it's going to help her out considerably here moving forward. I always get afraid if a Terran gets to 3 bases. That's when I start getting nervous, because that's about the point where you have enough gas flow that you can go any tech path and afford it.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. We'll see if he's able to deny this. Right now, not so much, but there are no Widow Mines currently sitting out here. It's all bio, and a Siege Tank's on the way. But Banelings would be a little bit more viable against this composition than the last games, where one Widow Mine could snap out like 9 Banelings.
Yeah, it's very true. The splits haven't been amazing out of Claire. I think I was expecting a little more, perhaps, because in the previous game we saw a really significant Bainley connection, and it didn't quite do the work that it didn't quite get dodged to the extent that I thought I was going to see out of Claire. So we'll have to see how that goes down. But as it stands, we've got a Roach Hydra composition out of FatTire.
I like the Hydras and the
I love
Overseers.
Roach Hydra.
They're actually useless this time, but I still like them.
I love Roach Hydra. I think it's a really cool composition. I do not think it is a good one at this point in time because it relies. Well, I don't know actually. The upgrades of Clare are later than I realised when I started that sentence. So it could work out okay if a natural timing is hit with the upgrades. Yeah, this is it. This is the moment when the upgrade is superior.
Attack. Okay, I was going to say don't back up here. That was the.
That could have been.
I feel like he could have pushed into that. I just think he was afraid of the widow mines that don't actually exist.
Well, he's got observers. It should be overseers. It should be okay.
Claire didn't like it. She backed out. Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
This is it.
There we go.
Okay, there's no.
Oh, move command!
This. Oh god! This is the opposite of what Clare did.
My God! The move command into the army. Oh. Wow.
Bit of an error there. And actually, if we look at the forces of Clare, with good kiting, this can work out in our Terran player's favour. But unless the engagement is FatTire, I think, could push into this, but isn't choosing to, and that might be for the best. There is going to be an upgrade lead for the Terran, but as it stands, they're both on equal. And with those two tanks in the back, the Roach Hydra could get smashed away pretty rapidly with bio stimming into it.
Yeah, I'd like to see Hydra speed come. That would help out a lot. If having a queue back around between those siege tanks. And that's not one upgrade that we have had coming. But we do have pathogen glands on the way. So, and look who's holding the watchtower.
It is our Zerg player. As this army moves forwards, the thing the medevacs saw, I think the medevacs, yeah, because the medevacs can see over the mist. So he knows what's on the other side of that, and what he knows is that it was a Zerg force waiting in ambush. Didn't quite pan out.
This is a lot of Hydras.
That's true. It's already set up in a pretty strong concave, but of course there is always that option for Clare to just kind of move around and go through the other entrance. As it stands, I would like to see the scan ahead. In
the concave.
But the bio's so fast.
Even with this creep, I'm a little perplexed. Is he just trying to buy time for pathogen glands?
Possibly. It's kind of
its force.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to push into the tanks because that could swing it the other way. Pathogen glands will be on its way. There are infestors coming out to join the army, and I think what he's trying to do is wait for the pathogen glands, and then he's just going to wait for the bio to move forwards in its little thing, and then he's just going to fungal it and kill it.
That's a lot of tanks coming in.
Yeah, FatTire actually has a fourth on its way down as well, which is pretty strong. So, getting that macro up, looking very, very safe. Clare getting a load of production back at home too, getting these barracks up nice and secure.
Oh boy, here we go. Here's the opportunity. Where are the fungals?
They're not quite there yet. Here they come, here they come, here they come. Nice! That is a spectacular fungal!
Oh, God!
Absolutely brutal, and yet the Zerg funneled into a choke and the tanks went wild.
Oh, and they're out of range of the tanks, I think. Yeah, they are.
Yeah, this is a much better fight. Shouldn't have been fighting in range of the tanks. That was a big risk. But even so, with these fungals, great fungals, I should add, going down on the medevacs. Should be trying to pick those off, I think. The medevacs keep grouping up. Fungal them, okay, don't fungal the medevacs. But there's so many tanks, as you said, just shoving forwards, leapfrogging over each other, and FatTire is looking like he might have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
I feel like the Roaches need to come around from where the fourth base normally would be on the south side and go up through the tanks with the Roaches.
Big Lynx, well, I reckon Lynx. Lynx should do it. Nice fungals once again. So far they've been really on point, but they're not supported by the right army at the right time. There was a moment.
So weak.
There were some moments where FatTire could have gone for it and probably beat the tanks.
You got to move out right now. The tanks are unsieged.
This is it. This is the one. This is where all the tanks perish.
Yeah, smash. You got DPS this.
Smash through all of those. There is one siege tank towards the back, but the Roaches are going to clean up the bio. However, the bio has cleaned up the third base.
But he does have a fourth. 35 workers killed, though.
There's a drop in the main as well, it's worth noting. FatTire has cleaned up a bunch of drones in there too. 29 workers remaining for FatTire. At this point, I'm struggling to see how FatTire can come back from the losses he sustained.
Oh my goodness.
It's pretty.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's
He left one Marine that is killing off the main base.
yeah, and it might do it as well. Just
Got.
was it on some full health? It's feeling pretty chilled. It's stimmed and everything. It's just kind of going, yup, damage, damage, damage. Actually picking off a couple of workers, and the health is just going to trickle down on the lair, whilst the Marines trickle into the natural, whittling away at the last of the Zerg forces.
Oh boy, there's a GG.